The most ridiculous thing about SEC fans.
Which podcast are we doing right now?
We're going to do the real one.
Okay.
But the most ridiculous thing about SEC fans is that
Starting off hot.
you will cheer for other teams.
Hot take.
I don't understand this.
Wait, what are you talking about? Give me an explanation.
If Arkansas is not playing a weekend or it's a bowl game and there's an SEC team and
That's not true.
Big Ten team. Oh,
That's not true.
More times than not, it is.
That's not true. Because if if LSU is playing, I will 100% and will forever have LSU lose, and I will be perfectly happy. Either them or Texas A&M or Missouri. I have any of those
been
three teams
in rooms with 20 plus Razorback fans when LSU has been playing against
I will never. Those aren't real Razorback fans.
Other teams.
They're not real
and
Razorback
they
fans.
will cheer for them.
If any Razorback fan has ever cheered for LSU, they are not real Razorback fans, and I will stake my my reputation on that. Sure, I don't know if I got much of a reputation,
But it is the weirdest. What other conference do you hear? Big Ten, Big Ten. That's not a thing, but you will cheer for your conference, and that's like a ridiculous.
Well, the only thing is that team. Usually, this is how it happens. I don't know if we're getting off on a tangent. I feel like, but usually what happens is like that team in the SEC, they whip up on each other. They beat each other up. That's just how every conference goes.
Vehemently disagree.
They go up against each other, and then say you get whipped by whatever. Usually it's Alabama. Get whipped by Alabama. They're in the playoff per usual, and you're like, well, they beat us, so I hope they win because it makes us look a little better. If they lose, and you're like, well, they lost the person who also lost. So I feel like that's the only reason I'm never cheering for another rival of Arkansas. I will never do it. Maybe Alabama, and I'm not cheering for them. I'm just saying I hope they win rather than the other team.
I quite literally have never cheered for a team that's not mine.
I'm not saying I cheer for them. I'm just saying I hope they win.
Never hope they win.
No.
I don't care. Like, everybody can lose if my team's not playing.
Yeah, I don't know. But only at the very end of the season is where I'm kind of hoping an SEC team beats another team. That's it. And it never is LSU. It's never Texas A&M, and it's never Missouri. Any of those other teams, maybe. Those three teams, no, heck no. I hope they lose every game for the rest of the season. If Arkansas goes 0 and whatever, but they have the 1 and whatever, and that one win is LSU, fantastic season. Great season.
Well, that's just because your team sucks.
Well, yes, everyone knows the Razorbacks suck, but it's like you still got to cheer for them. You still hope they beat LSU and hope LSU loses the rest of the games. That's just what it is to be a Razorback fan.
I grew up an OU fan, and OU played Alabama in like the Sugar Bowl when I was in college. I think it was like 2015, maybe 2014, something like that. And I'm sitting in the house with my father-in-law, who's a Razorback fan, and he's just rooting as hard as he can for Alabama. I'm like, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. Like,
I'm not rooting. You're not going to be cheering. It's not going to happen.
Like, I don't. If I watch a game that's not have a team that I want to see. Like, if it's not a team I like and I'm watching a game, I don't really cheer for either team.
Yep.
I'm just kind of enjoying watching the game. It's just a weird thing. Yep. I don't know.
I agree.
It has nothing to do with anything, really. But I just think it's a crazy thing that living in SEC country is tough for a brother.
Little pig, yeah.
Out here. It's funny. I even switched teams. I'm still not an SEC fan. But, hey, welcome to the Pointman podcast. If you're not already mad enough that I think SEC fans are weird.
I don't. I love you.
Welcome in. I think the Bible's cool. That helps.
I agree. We're in agreements there.
So that's what we're going to talk about, because we can agree on that. No matter who you are, where you come from, as long as you believe that the Bible is real and fallible and God's true word to us. We can get into it today. Yep. But this podcast is designed to help men be the men that God designed them to be and help them grow closer in studying God's word. And so that's what we're doing. That's why we're here. That's what we're talking about. Typically, we have a topic of conversation on this podcast, and today we don't. Today, we're just going to kind of see what happens here. But I was actually working through something earlier. And we've had a conversation on here a few times, more than a few times, about like what should our desire be in life? Like, what should we actually be trying to accomplish? We've discussed it from different angles, and you can come at it from a perspective of like, I'm comfortable where I am. I need to be okay with where I am. And like, that's an angle that we've kind of battered around a little bit. We've also talked about like the need to be more and to do more in life and what that looks like. And, you know, I really think, I was studying this morning for a message next week, and John 10:10 popped up. And if you open John 10:10, while you're over there.
Yeah, I'll go.
I got it real quick. You got it? Yep. Go for it.
It says, the thief's purpose is to steal, kill, and destroy. My purpose is to give them a rich and satisfying life. Can you keep going?
No, that's it. Yeah, okay. Yeah. It just read different than mine. Okay. No, you're at the end. Yeah, so I came to give life and life more abundantly, is what it says in the ESV. And, you know, it's, I think that answers the stress and the struggle between the two. So we're going to kind of bat down the middle of this and really kind of bring that whole conversation into focus, I think, today. And, you know, when we think about it from like a, you know, be confident in who we are, be happy with God has provided, be comfortable in that, that's not necessarily an unbiblical place to be, but I do think it is whenever we become complacent in that. I also think that having drive and motivation and a want to do something incredible with this life is not an unbiblical place to be, but I do think it is whenever we put our focus somewhere outside of God's desire for our life. And when we read John 10:10, it's we weren't made to sit here and just be comfortable with where we're at. We weren't made to just to sit on our laurels, if you will, and to just ride this life thing out. God wants more from us. He wants us to live a life that is purpose filled, is mission filled, is driven, has value and provides value. He doesn't want us to be, you know, sitting and waiting for him to come back. He wants us to be world changers. He wants us to find ways that we can impact the world around us. And, you know, I think the safe out is to say that all of us, that looks differently. And I say it's a safe out because if we say it that way, then we can look at it and be like, you know, you may have a minimum impact and someone else might have a maximum impact. Their impact and their mission was different than yours was. And is that untrue? No. Like, some people are never going to have a Billy Graham moment where there's 50,000 people in an arena and he's preaching the gospel to them. That not everybody's going to do that. I mean, only a few people do that. But that if you want to be a world changer, which I believe you are meant to be, then it is going to take us having a change of mindset of like, I know I'm tired. I know I got other things on my mind. I know I got things I need to focus on, or I feel like I need to focus on in this world. But, you know, the world, nobody changes the world in 8 hours in a day. It's a 24-hour investment. It's a lifestyle change. It's a life investment that we have to make to go and to actually be world changers, to make a difference around us. Being, you know, first and foremost, we have to take care of our family. But, you know, once we have fulfilled this obligation here, I think there's more we have to strive for in life. And I don't think we can just be comfortable sitting in the house with a comfortable family. Yeah,
like you said, it's like not everybody, of course, can be the Billy Grahams of it all. But you kind of it's like a cop out, just saying like, oh, I'm not going to be Billy Graham, so I'm not going to do anything. Like that's not the right answer. That can't be the right answer. I mean,
but I mean, you know, we used to say things, and it's not true. But I think it limits people's view on things. It's like, you know, like it's important for the person who cuts the grass at the church. It's important for the person who cleans the bathroom. It's important for the person who resets chairs
in the parking lot
or serving the parking lot. But those things are important. I'm not saying they're not, but like, what is at the end? Like, have you said, all right, I am serving, I am making a difference, so I'm going to sit in this comfortable position now and not fully address what God's desire for me is. And, you know, for some people will just have an aptitude for, they're fearless in change. They're fearless in the unknown. They're willing to go out and do it. And others just aren't. Yeah. But I think that if we are to really see what God's desire for us is, it's not that our comfort is not his prerogative. He's not interested in what you're comfortable and uncomfortable with.
No.
He's interested in your obedience and willingness to go and do it. You know, we see it in Exodus. We see the Israelites leave Egypt. They become uncomfortable and they're like, take us back to slavery. At least we got to eat meat.
Yeah, that's brutal. Yeah.
And it's a similar situation. It's like I do serve in the church, and I'm having a great impact, and that's awesome, and continue to do so. But like, is there more that you could be doing? I think that's kind of the core of where I'm feeling is like, I think we all have more in us that we can offer to this world than what we are executing on. And I think the exponential increase of that is different for every person, of course, but I think we all have something in us that we can do that's greater. Something that we could, if we were to just grab it and say, we're going to go for it, and fear be dang, and consequences be dang, and people's opinions, get them out of the way. Like, if we could just remove some of those things and just say, I'm taking this. There's so much more every one of us could do.
Yeah. I think one of the big things, like you said, that people don't reach out and grab it is because of that, like you said, the comfortability of it. Like, I'm comfortable of, doing this job and going home and doing whatever I want. And I'm not going to get uncomfortable with spending my time serving God or serving other people. A lot of times that's what really holds people up, or the comfortability of the sin that they're living in and the sin that controls their lives. And they're not going to take hold of what God wants for them because they're trapped in either the sin or the comfortability of it, which they could also be the same thing. When you go back and read John 10:10, the thief's purpose is to steal, kill, and destroy. My purpose is to give them a rich and satisfying life. What reminds me is, like, I just finished my year. I always finish in July for some reason, because I guess I've been doing the year, read the Bible through in a year. And so I started in July one year, and I just finished it. So I'm starting it again. So I'm back in Genesis again. But it just reminds me of whenever God first made people, and his purpose was to live with his people and have coexistence with people. And that's kind of like what is it? My purpose is to give them a rich and satisfying life. They were having a rich and satisfying life back in the garden. And then all of a sudden, the thief's purpose, which is talking about Satan, and his purpose is to steal, kill, and destroy. He convinced Eve to take from the apple, and then she gave it to him, so that it was easier to sin in that moment than to reach out and say, no, I'm not going to sin. I'm going to be following after God like I'm supposed to be doing. And all of a sudden, that's what kind of, just that verse kind of reminds me of that, just because I've been reading through Genesis lately.
Well, I mean, I'm not even... How do I say this? I'm not even looking at it from a sin perspective. I'm just going to say it how I thought it.
Sure. Go for it.
And I'm not apologizing for sin. And I'm not advocating or giving a pass for sin. But even if we were to remove it from our frame of mind, in our separation from God, from our frame of mind, and we were just to look at God's desire for our action steps, I think that we fear what that means. It may mean you have to get rid of a sin that you're hanging on to. It may mean that you have to change the way that you think about certain things or interact with certain things to grab what God's desire for you to do. But you have to be willing to grab it for that to even matter. If we have a personal relationship with God issue when sin separates us from him in that relationship, I think that's a secondary conversation to not being willing to grasp what he has asked us to do in the first place. It's almost like the developing the tools. It's like the person who thinks they have to get fit to go to the gym. It's like, really, the action step is to go to the gym to get fit. But there are people who feel like they have to get fit to go to the gym. And I think sometimes God tells us we have to go accomplish this thing in his name. He has this desire for us. He gives us an opportunity that we can grasp and we can take hold of, and we can do something world changing in each of our lives. But the sin may hold us back. But the change may come because we're willing to take the next step. You don't serve in the church because you have this sin thing. But if you did serve in the church, would that sin thing go? Would you make the action step to remove that from your life? We have a volunteer agreement here at the church, and it addresses certain things that you just can't do in life and be a part of the team here. And there are people who God has called to a certain area of the church. He's asked them to serve in a certain way or interact in a certain way, and they will choose not to because of the sin. They don't want to let that go, or they get hung up on it. But if they were to say, I'm going to get rid of that to take what God has asked me to do, take on this calling that God has put in my life, you're gonna get rid of this because this desire to do something incredible in his name overpowers your desire to do this other thing for a selfish reason.
Yeah, it reminds me of like when people tell you like, oh, you need a good way to lose weight, is to work out. And you're like, that's actually not true. The good way to lose weight is to eat less food, eat less calories, you lose weight. But people will say like, oh, you need to work out more. Is another reason you can lose weight. But like you said, sometimes you need that little bit of motivation while you're working out to make you motivated to eat less food. Which one actually made you lose weight? Was it the working out or was it the eating less food? And you could say, well, it's probably the working out because working out is what actually made me eat less food. So actually got the job done.
Well, yeah, but either way, you have to look at it and be like, okay, what do I want?
Yep.
What am I trying to accomplish? I'm trying to accomplish weight loss.
Yeah. And so it's like, well, I'm going to eat less because I've been working out. I did good. I worked out this morning, so now I'm going to eat better. That's kind of essentially the same thing. It's like, I'm going to sign this volunteer agreement. I haven't stopped doing the sin yet, but I want to serve, so I'm going to stop because I've signed this volunteer agreement. I think that's what you're getting to.
Kind of. That's a trend.
You want to serve, so you're going to stop.
So you're going to stop.
Yes.
God has placed this on your heart. Like, I want to serve in kids.
Yep.
I want it to be a light for the next generation. And so you have this. You live with your boyfriend or your girlfriend, I guess, for point of our podcast.
Girlfriend. Yeah.
You live with your girlfriend.
Yeah. Boyfriend. Different conversation.
Yeah. Different conversation. And you feel strongly that God desires for you to serve in this way. So you move out.
Yeah.
So you set up your own, like you separate yourself from the sin that you have in your life because the desire to be that change agent for the next generation overpowers a personal comfortability in a sin. But outside of a sin conversation, let's say you're not that any of us are sinless, but let's say it's not a public sin in that way. And it is not something that you're necessarily, let's say I'm a bit of a gossiper. There's no really anti-gossip line in the volunteer agreement. It's not a public sin. Right. It's not one of these things that mars necessarily. It does mar the cause of Christ, but not in the same way as some of these other things do. Not that it's anything's greater than the other. I'm done with caveats.
There is a Bible verse that says don't gossip, but
yeah. I'm done with caveats for a minute. But he desires for me to preach. There are people who sit in churches every Sunday that God desires to go out and to preach the gospel to other people. They're scared. They're scared because they feel inadequate. They're scared because they have these personal relationship issues. They're scared because they don't think they're talented enough or that they know what to say or they have enough knowledge. Those are the things we fix along the way. Those are the things like trust God, the inadequacy is gone. Focus and learn how to do it. Teach yourself. Listen to other people. You learn how to gain the ability. Like there's things that can be done, but you have to be willing to do it in the first place. You can't be hung up on the things that scare us to step out on faith. It's simply that. It's stepping out on faith and it's going and saying, I'm going to do this. And I don't care if the people around me think I'm crazy. I don't care if the people around me don't think I can do it. If they think I'm going to fail, and I might. But if it's what God told me to do, I don't feel that I'm going to fail. I trust that it's His will, and it will be accomplished through me by taking an action step.
Yeah, I was going to ask, give us a couple examples of the action steps that the guys need to be taking. They're listening to this podcast. What are the couple of like practical action steps, like you said, the doing the thing before you get to where you want to be? What are these action steps that are like a practical action steps just for?
I think it's
different for everybody.
It's different for everybody, but I do think there are some core things that all of them kind of work around. Like the people you're around dictate a lot of your actions. And so if you're around people who mock what God has desired for you to do in your life, those aren't the people that you need to spend the bulk of your time with. You need to surround yourself with people who maybe see what's going on, maybe can be a support, even if they don't fully believe that you can do it, but they're at least willing to support you in it. Surrounding yourself with people like that is huge, because while you don't need confirmation from any person to do what God desires for you to do, it is easier to do when there are people who will at least support you or speak life into the mission that God has given you.
Yeah, and it takes boldness to separate yourself from those people. It takes a lot of courage to do that, because it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be fun. Not going to be an easy job to do, to get rid of that out of your life.
And I think too,
Change.
Any big change requires courage. And so if you live a life that doesn't require you to be courageous ever, then whenever you are faced with a step that requires a lot of courage, it's not going to be there. It's like you didn't train it. You didn't build up, from the little things. The Spartan race used to market all the time that you would develop obstacle immunity when you raced in their races. And it was like one of their selling points early on. And the idea was like, if you come and do a Spartan race and you accomplish these tough tasks and these tough obstacles, the toughness in life becomes easier. Whenever you're sitting in traffic doesn't bother you as bad because you crawled under barbed wire. When your boss is mad and nagging at you, it doesn't bother you as bad because you climbed a 50-foot rope. It's those types of things that, you build this immunity to the obstacles of life during the race, and it translates into our life when we go home and we begin to interact with the world around us because we have trained ourselves in that way. I think courage to do hard things and incredible things is very similar. I think that we have to train into ourselves through the little things in life. It could be a little step. Like if, I started serving in Pointman and I was the games coordinator. It's like, if I don't even like games, I don't like playing games, like the little, get to know you games and stuff like that. That's not my favorite thing to do ever. And that was what they gave me. I think it was kind of a training ground. It was like, let's be uncomfortable. You have to kind of be goofy. You kind of have to interact with everybody in a weird way. And I think it was a training ground of like, one, get over yourself, but two, get over your fear of this like kind of persona you have to play at times to connect with people. And I think it was good. I think it was good for me in that way. But I think everybody goes through that. And you have to, whatever it is, whether it's you step out and you serve in the parking lot, it's like, that's a step one.
Oh yeah, yeah. Open the door, greet her. Very humbling in that moment. But yeah, like you said, it is tough. Like you said, the very first time I ever got asked to, I was going to a different church, and they were like, "Can you lead this whatever service?" And I was absolutely terrified. I had to pray in front of people. I've never done that before, but you got to be bold enough to do it. And so you said, take bold actions. Hashtag also get rid of people that you need to get rid of your life. Is there another practical step that comes to mind whenever you're thinking about this?
I think it's.
I mean, to put you on the spot.
No, yeah, you're fine. Yeah. I don't think you need confirmation from anyone, and don't think there's ever a timeline that's going to work out nicely for you.
Yeah, that's true.
There's never going to be a pretty day. If you want to do something, do it. If you think, if it's in God's will for you to do it, and it's a desire, and you could be a change agent through it, then do it. People will come up like, I don't know why we don't have a coat closet for the homeless. It's like, just start a coat closet. Like, you don't need, that's not a ministry that we have right now. We can't have all the ministries. Like, there's not enough people, time, space around here to do everything for everybody. But you can. Is that on your heart to clothe the homeless? Then why don't you start clothing the homeless? We need a soup kitchen. It's like, then start one. Like, it's not, we aren't special as the church for the ability, like, it's a government form to become a nonprofit. Like, go fill it out.
Yeah, the church is at the body of Christ is the church, as the bride of Christ, in which everyone who is a believer is also part of that same body. So we can all do the same things together. Church is just a place where a physical place where you actually meet together.
Most of the time, the church is because one person had the courage to do what God asked them to do and put their name next to it and said, "We're going to do it." So if that person could do it, why could you not do it?
No.
No matter what it is, mission, ministry, whatever it is, if this person is special because they were willing to, and you have the ability to be special if you're willing to.
No.
And it's not, you don't do it so that you will be special. That's not the point. The point is that it doesn't take special people. It takes everybody doing special things.
Yeah, I was thinking about this week as we were doing VBX here at that church. I know it's going to come out a couple of weeks later, but VBX happened at our church this week, and I was thinking about like the people who actually go out and do the big showy things. Those are the people who are not the real grinders. I feel like the real grinders are the people who are like in there until like midnight, cleaning, sweeping, and taking the trash out, putting the signs away. People who are showing up super early right after they get off work. I'm like, man, that's like the real heart, and like that's like a real, like those are the people you want to get and go plant new churches with, because it's not the people who are like, I'm trying to go be, doing what all the, let's say fancy stuff about a church, but you need the grinders. Those are the real people who get the job done thing this week. And I was like, man, it was really cool to see all of the volunteers at that church then just coming in. They were like, you could tell they were super tired, but they were like, I'm going to get in there. I'm going to be bold. I'm going to grind and do what God tells me to do. And it was just really cool. It was encouraging to me.
And a product of that was I walked through, I think it was Tuesday night. I walked through the worship center, and all the kids were in there at once. And everybody's dancing and singing and worshiping and doing all these things. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. Like, awesome. I'm so uncomfortable in a kid's classroom that I'd claw my eyes out because it's just like what it takes to reach kids is such a special thing. Yeah. And when people are really good at it, I'm in awe of what they do. Yeah. And to see so many kids and so many people investing in them, in their life and their faith and all of these things even for just the 2 hours a night, I just was like, that is it is absolutely incredible. Yeah. But it took how many volunteers?
Grinders, man.
200 plus. There's almost 300 kids or over 300 kids. And then, so for every kid, there's pretty much an adult in the building somewhere, whether they're immediately in their group or serving in some other capacity. So we're talking about, I can tell you exactly, there was almost 1-to-1 people serving to people attending, to kids attending. There was 500 and something people total between kids and adults. So 1.5 kid for every adult that's in the building at that moment. That means that there's almost 200 adults who said yes and did something that they may have been uncomfortable with. There was a couple of guys from Pointman who were serving as kids, like direct, like group leaders and helping these kids. I know those guys a little bit, and that's not the personality that they live with 24/7. Like they're men, they're rougher, they're gruffer, they're, what a guy is. But to see them interact with the kids and to care for all the kids in their group and to be like a masculine figure, it's because they said yes. Yeah. Because they were like, I'm going to be uncomfortable for 3 nights. I'm going to go to work all day, be tired, still come up here and do all these things. Yeah. And they have a incredible change on at least 300 kids and the life that those kids and the things they're going to be exposed to and experience in their life. They have a big plan to play. But, we've talked a lot about it, and I think we just naturally do this because we are a church, we are a ministry. And so we think about a lot of things in context of our 4 walls. Yeah, but I'm talking about like, God may have a desire for you to do something outside of this place, outside of the church that you attend, and to go and to do something incredible for the community around you in his name. And that's maybe even scarier.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because people are not going to be, if you say I'm willing to serve here at church, everybody's going to give you a clap and a good job, high five. Might not be the case in your own community.
If you go and you start something in your own community, you're probably going to face a lot of pushback. You're probably going to have some thick skin. You're probably going to have people say that you're going to fail and that you're not good enough and that you can't do it. You can't listen to those people. If God told you to do it trusting God. Yeah. And that's the only voice that should matter. And that's the only voice you have to seek whenever times get hard and things get, whenever you're bugging out because everything seems to be falling apart around you. But you have to say yes in the first place, and you have to be willing to do it. God gives us opportunities. We started this conversation. I'm kind of come in for a landing on it, but I think all of us have that thing. I think there's something that God has put on our heart, every single person, to be a change agent for the world. There's a church we live in Arkansas. There's a church on every corner. Oh yeah. There's not a public, like a main thoroughfare in our town that you can drive down that there's not at least one, if not 5 churches. But there's 30,000 people in our city, and less than 5% probably go to all those churches. Why is that?
That's brutal.
Is it because we're not doing enough as this church? Or the church down the street's not doing enough as that church? Or the one around on the other side of town, are they not doing enough? I think they're all trying their best. Maybe it's because you were supposed to do something and you didn't say yes. Maybe it was because you were supposed to talk to those people. Maybe it was because you were supposed to be the one that set the can drive. Maybe it was you that was supposed to clothe the homeless. Maybe, maybe you are supposed to be the person that makes the change in that area.
Yeah, put your Bible on your desk at work, Bible study at work, talk to other coworkers about, pray at work, pray with your neighbors, pray with your people that you're around you with every day. Those little, stuff like that, little things like that.
I think we wrap this on the thought. I think if you hear this and it touched you in some way that you feel motivated to do anything, I think you spend the next week or more, whenever you turn on Netflix or your ESPN, whatever you watch at night, before you turn it on, pray and ask God for what it is I'm supposed to do. And then for the courage to actually do it. Opportunity and for provision, for lack of a better word,
sometimes
do it.
Sometimes you just got to get out of the truck. I don't know if I showed you that with that.
About the youth group?
Yeah. Get out of the truck and just go.
I mean, sometimes
changed my
it's
whole life, dude. I got out of that truck. It changed my whole life.
Yeah, when I was a young marketing student in college, we had to enter sales pitch competition. It was an open thing for all business college students, but it was mandatory for us. And the room is packed. I mean, it's probably to this day, it's the most people I've ever spoken in front of. I mean, it's absolutely huge. One of the local equipment dealers in town sponsored it, and so he was there, and you had to make a sales pitch to him. He would stand there, and you would have to pitch him a new product, and he would have to buy it. And it was the most, I'd never spoken in front of that many people at that point in my life. We had like fraternity stuff, and there'd be like 110 guys or something in the room, but we're talking, maybe 500-600 people at one time, all packed into this like meeting hall at the school. And I'm standing there, and I'm like, I'm next, and I'm nervous as crap, and for the first time, and I realized that all I had to do was just say hello into the mic, and that all of my nerves went away. And so since that day, anytime I speak in front of large groups of people, I just have to say the first word. I just have to say something into the mic, and everything that made me nervous before that moment just goes away. Whether, it's a message at the church, whether it's a funeral, whether it's I'm talking to a class of people, whatever it is, it's just hello or whatever I can say to start the conversation, and all of those nerves go away. Most things in life just require, like you say, getting out of the truck.
Get out of the truck, man. Yep.
Or saying hello. Just do something, and then be confident in what comes next. And you can overcome a lot of things.
That's good. Yeah. One day, which just reminds me of like one day, we're all going to die one day. We're going to be in heaven one day, and we're going to see the faces of the kids who were at VBX that were saved that day. And you're like, you're responsible. You were one of the reasons that these kids were here and that they were able to come to Christ because of you. And you had the courage to say yes, to do what you were supposed to do, what God told you to do, and put in whatever the moment is in your life where you said yes and you did and had the boldness to do it. One day you're going to get rewarded for that, and you're going to see the fruits of your labor when you get to heaven for those people's faces and the lives that they changed because of it.
That's it.
Yep.
It's incredible.
Yep.
Hey, make sure you like and subscribe before you get out of here. And make sure you come back for more. I don't know where we're going with the next episode, but we're going to get there somehow, because we're going to say yes. We're going to get out of the truck, and we're going to keep turning this thing on. And I hope it's beneficial for you in some capacity or some way in your life. But say yes. Get out of your own way and do what God's asked you to do. See you next week.